So Ryan's running 33 miles for his 33rd birthday. We're here at LBL. I am going to ride the bike beside him so I can keep him hydrated and make sure he has nutrition when he needs it. Are you nervous?
Yes.
Okay, so yesterday you ran 33 miles for your 33rd birthday. Was it everything you expected? Let's say this. Was it easier or harder than you expected it to be?
The first 22 miles was easier than I expected it to be. The last 11 miles were harder than I expected it to be. The first 22 miles clicked by quick. The body was acting fine. Stride was fine. Felt good. At 22 and a half, the body just started to fall apart. My stride started to shorten, started to shuffle a bit. Especially when I hit the woods again at around mile 23, 24, and the terrain started really undulating. It was steep up, steep down, steep up, steep down. That transition on really busted legs, that was really tough. So I suffered through the last 11, shuffling, and my pace reflects that. Pace really started to fall off near the end of the 33 miles.
So let's talk about elevation. So was the elevation at the beginning tough? Because I know at the end it was tough. Was it tough at the beginning?
No, the whole course was relatively easy for the first 22 miles, which included a lot of gnarly elevation changes, but also included some relatively flat stuff. And it was an out and back, so I did all the same terrain essentially twice over. And on the second half, it just felt totally different just because the body was busted up.
How did your pace end up with compared to your expectations for your pace?
It was a little slower than I expected. Now it's a tough course because you've got, a loose surface, so you're losing a little bit of traction in every step. Early on, I knew kind of what relative perceived exertion that I wanted to hold and what I would need to hold to sustain the 33 miles. And that early on, that pace or that rate of perceived exertion was not matching up with the pace that I anticipated, right? So I expected to come out of the gates running really easy at like 9-minute miles, and once I started getting into a lot of the climbs, as I was trying to maintain that easy pace, that equated out to like 10-minute miles, maybe sometimes 10:30. So that was, a little bit frustrating at the beginning, but I couldn't allow it to get into my head because it was going to be a long day. And so I had to remind myself not to be focused on the speed or the minutes per mile and just try to stay focused on heart rate and perceived exertion, because that was, my body telling me what type of energy reserves it had for the day.
But you ended up with what pace overall?
Overall was a 9:33 minute per mile for the 33. So, there were some sections where I was able to pull back some time and run, mid-8s to try to make up for some of those slower miles that I had, but I also had to stop and pee 5 times. So I was trying to make up for that too. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because, those last 10 miles, I was just giving away too much time just because my legs were busted up, and it just became, a mental battle to put one foot in front of the other.
So you weren't dehydrated.
I was not dehydrated.
Let's talk about that. So I followed you or was ahead of you at any given moment to make sure you were hydrated. So tell me about what you wanted me to do. Like, I know you told me every half mile water, every mile something else. So talk about what the something else's were.
I was really spoiled that you followed me for the duration of the 33 miles and fed me water and food, more water than food, you know, every time that I wanted it or needed it. And that cadence was like every half mile water, and then on the mile, every mile, whatever type of energy drink or calorie intake that I had, you know, planned for. That's when you gave me that. So I was certainly spoiled being fed and watered frequently, uber frequently throughout the day, which was really helpful because it was a hot, humid day.
So what were obviously we had water. What other caloric intake did you take and why?
So the first bottle outside of water was UCAN, Generation UCAN, which is a low carbohydrate, slow absorbing calorie drink, kind of like, it was like the thickness and consistency of like milk and magnesia. But it's a low carb, higher calorie type of drink to sustain blood glucose levels and to allow you to continue to tap into the fat burning, which is why I had that first. I had that mixed in with some UCAN electrolytes, again, just because of the heat and humidity for the day. That lasted me through probably 16 miles. And then at mile 16, I switched to Gatorade, one bottle of Gatorade. And then probably around mile, I don't know, 18 or so. No, it would be 18. I don't know, sometime later in the run, I switched to Coca-Cola Classic.
That was about mile 20.
Mile 20. Coca-Cola Classic as my calorie drink. Coca-Cola Classic, you know, for a sedentary body, it can be poison, but for a body in the latter stages of a long run like that, you know, the marathon distance and beyond, it can become rocket fuel. It's got the right amount of sodium, the right amount of electrolytes to be absorbed very quickly without really any GI distress. And, you know, in terms of giving the cells quick energy, you know, there's really nothing that you can put in your body to give you quicker jolt of calories.
So then finally when you finished, how did you feel right after you finished? Physically, let's start with physical.
My legs hurt pretty bad. You know, near the end, certainly beyond the marathon, you know, it felt like my muscles were ripping off the bone from the waist down. I had a lot of pressure behind my kneecaps. So my legs were pretty well busted. But beyond that, I felt pretty good.
Now what about mentally?
Mentally, I mean, I wasn't thinking as sharp as what I would had I not ran 33 miles. But, you know, I felt fine. Usually after an event like that, I feel, you know, really sleepy, really hungry, you know, really tired. I didn't, you know, I think that's, I think a big part of that is because I was properly fed and watered throughout the race or the run. 33 miles, 5:17, 5 hours and 17 minutes. Marathon at 4:05, 50K in under 5 hours. 33.02 miles, average pace 9:36 per mile.
Ooh. And then right now you're on your trainer. What are you doing now and why?
So, you know, woke up, had some coffee, watched some YouTube, and decided to get on the trainer just to stir the blood up a little bit, to push fresh warm blood down to the legs, wash away a lot of the soreness. Just something easy. I'm doing like 67 watts right now. Zone 2, or zone 1, maybe even zone 0.5 for me. So this is not about putting out power. This is not about elevating your heart rate to a certain degree. It's just about putting the body into easy motion so that you're not taxing the body. You're not asking the body to do really anything strenuous, as you just did yesterday. But it's just allowing the body to wake up a little bit, stir up the blood, and actively recover a little bit. So, when I first got on the bike, legs were a little stiff. Right kneecap, was a little achy, and having been on the trainer now for almost 39 minutes, just taking it really easy. The legs are really loosening up, starting to feel more like normal.
All right, was it worth it, and was it fun?
Yeah, it was totally worth it. It's totally worth it. Running across the island of Land Between the Lakes, from bridge to bridge and then back again, that's something that I wanted to do for a long time, and it's only been available here as of like the last year because the bridge that goes over Lake Barkley was just completed. And now there's a pedestrian walkway on both bridges, so you can actually travel on foot or by bike across Kentucky Lake, across the island, and across Lake Barkley, and subsequently you can turn around and come back. So that's something that I've always wanted to do, so it was really cool to knock that off the bucket list. To my knowledge, I'm the first person to ever cross Land Between the Lakes, east to west and back again. Again, mainly because it's a long way, and probably more so the fact that now you can actually do it because of the new bridges. So it was a lot of fun. It was weird that because of all this COVID stuff, you can't have events or races where you at the end of the finish line, there really is no finish line. There's no party afterwards. There's no people along the side of the road cheering. And you don't have competitors, that you're chasing down or running from. And so that was different to put in a big effort like that without having all those external factors. But given that life goes on, and it was the 33rd birthday, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got to do it. Could have done it without your help. But it was, for me, it's important to remind myself, at least annually on my birthday, that you're only as old as you allow yourself to be. It's unfortunate that a lot of folks, can't walk to the mailbox relatively early in life. And I think that, certainly there are real limitations that a lot of people unfortunately suffer from that put them in that situation. But for a lot of folks, it's a outcome of a lot of small choices, for many years of their life, to not be active, to not eat properly, to not use the body for what the body's meant for. So for me, it's a nice reminder that even though I'm getting older, that doesn't mean that I can't get stronger, can't get faster, and physically can't get younger. So it was a really cool day.